Hello viewers, hope you're doing well. Today in this video, I'm going to build collaborative whiteboard using Spring Boot, React and WebSocket. First, I will give you the overview of the project. After that, we will start the implementation. So the project features are real-time collaboration, multiple drawings color, comment system, emoji reaction, export to PNG, erase canvas and the responsive design. Now let's navigate to the browser. So as you can see, the UI of our project, where on the left side, we have the whiteboard. On the top of this, we have the input for color picker, like we can select the color. Second, we have a button with the name erase. Third, we have export. Now I'm going to draw anything on this whiteboard, like the text here. Let's go to the second tab. We can see the drawing as a second user. Let's click on the export button and it's downloaded the PNG image. Let me open this. As you can see, the exported version of the drawing. With this, we can clear the whiteboard by clicking on this button, erase. As you can see, after that, we can add the real-time comments and the reaction. Like I'm going to add the reaction. As you can see, we got here the real-time reaction on the second tab. Let me add the reaction from the second tab. As you can see, with this, I'm going to post a comment from the first tab, like here. Click on the send button. As you can see, we got the comment. Now let's go to the second tab. From the second tab, I'm going to post another comment like great work. Let's click on the send button. As you can see, the posted comment on the second tab. Now let's go to the first tab. And as you can see, the posted comment. So these are the features that we will implement in our full stack React Spring Boot application. Let me search here Spring Initializer. The project we have Maven, language Java, Spring Boot version that will be by default 3.5.5, project metadata, where we have the artifact, collaborative, whiteboard, backend, packaging that will be a jar, Java version 17. Now I'm going to add here the dependencies. Where first the dependency for Spring Web, second for WebSockets. Now let's click on the generate button. As you can see, the project generated successfully. Let me unzip this. Let me open this folder inside the IntelliJ IDE. So as you can see, the package for SRC. Inside this, we have the package for main. Inside the main, we have two packages, Java and the resources. Inside the Java, I'm going to create a new folder inside this. So the first folder that for config, second for controller, third for model. As you can see, the main file of our Spring Boot application. Let me open here the pom.xml file. As you can see, the tag for dependencies, where we have the dependency for Spring Web, Spring Boot started WebSocket and the Spring Boot starter test. Now I'm going to run the Spring Boot application. As you can see, our Spring Boot application started successfully on the port 8080. Let me open here the CMD. Let me add here the command. So the command that we have npm create vite@latest, the name of the project and the template React. Let's hit enter. As you can see, our React Vite application created successfully. Now let's go to this directory. After that, let me install here the node packages. So the command that we have npm install. So as you can see, the node packages are installed successfully. Now after that, I'm going to run this command to run our React Vite project. So the command that we have npm run dev. So as you can see, the React Vite application running locally on this URL. Let me copy this. And as you can see, the default page of our newly created React Vite application. Now after that, I'm going to install STOMP.js, SockJS client packages in our React application. So as you can see, The packages are installed successfully. Let me run the React application again. Inside the model package, let me create here the new Java class with the name stroke. With this, I'm going to create a new Java class with the name reaction, and the last Java class with the name comment. Let's go to the stroke class. Inside this class, let me create here another class for point. So it will be a public static class and name of the class point. Inside this, let me define here the parameters, where the first parameter dat for x and the type of the parameter double. The second parameter dat for y, that is the type of a double. After the parameters, let me create here the getters and the setters of these parameters. So as you can see, the getters and the setters. Now after that, inside the stroke class, I'm going to define here the parameter dat for points. That is a type of list of point. Let me import this list. Second parameter, let me define here for color. That is a type of a string. Third, for width, that is a type of int. After the parameter, let me define here the getters and the setters. Now you can take a look of a stroke and the points class. After setting up the stroke class, let me open here the reaction class. So inside this, let me define here the parameters, where the first parameter dat for emoji. So it will be a private string. Second for x, third for y, that is a type of a double. After defining the parameters, let me create here the getters and the setters. Now you can take a look of a reaction class. After that, let me open here the comment class. So inside this class, let me define here the parameters, where first we have private string text. Second, we have private string timestamp. Let me define the getters and the setters of these parameters. Now you can take a look of a comment class. As you can see, the config package. So inside this, let me create here a new Java class with the name WebSocket config. On the top of this class, let me add here the annotation that we have @configuration. Second, we have enable WebSocket message broker. Let me implement this class with WebSocket message broker configurer. Now inside this class, let me override here the functions. First, we have a function with the name configure message broker. So it will be a public void name of the function configure message broker. Inside the argument, it has an object of message broker registry, and it will be a config. On the top of this method, I'm going to add here the notation @override. Now inside this method, I'm going to enable here simple broker. So it will be a config dot enable simple broker. Inside the argument, we have to pass here the destination prefixes in the form of a string that we have /topic. After that, I'm going to set here application destination prefix that we have /app. So it will be a config dot set application destination prefixes /app. Second method, let me override here register stomp endpoints. So it will be a public void name of the method register stomp endpoints. Inside the argument, it has an object of stomp endpoint registry, and it will be a registry. On the top of this, let me add here the annotation @override. Now inside this function, I'm going to add here the endpoint, where we have the path /ws stands for WebSocket. Second, I'm going to set here allowed origin patterns that we have static with SockJS. Now you can take a look of a WebSocket configuration class. As you can see, the package for controller. Inside this, I'm going to create a new Java class with the name Whiteboard controller. So on the top of this class, let me add here the annotation @controller to make this class as a controller in Spring Boot application. Inside this class, I'm going to add here the method with the name broadcast stroke. Inside the argument, it will get an object of stroke. Let me import this. So on the top of this, I'm going to add here the mapping @message mapping where the URL /draw. The second annotation, let me add here @send to the URL that we have /topic/drawings. This function will return the stroke. After that, let me add here the method for broadcast comment. Inside the argument, it will get an object of comment. Let me import this. So the return type of this method that we have comment, and this will return the comment. Now on the top of this, let me add here the annotations. First we have message mapping. Second we have send to. The URL of the message mapping that we have /comment. For this annotation, we have the URL /topic/comments. After that, let me add here the method for broadcast reaction. This will get the reaction object in the argument. Let me import this, and we have to return here the reaction. So on the top of this, let me add here the annotations, where the first annotation that we have @message mapping with the URL /reaction. Second, we have @send to with the URL /topic/reactions. Now at the last, I'm going to add here the method for broadcast erase. So as you can see, the method name broadcast erase. Inside the argument, it will get a message that is a type of a string, and we have to run here the string erase. On the top of this, we have the annotations @message mapping with the URL /erase. The second we have @send to with the URL /topic/erase. Now you can take a look of a whiteboard controller. So as you can see, the React Vite application. First, I'm going to add the server configuration inside the vite-config.js file. So as you can see, the configuration for server. This setup a development server proxy that forwards WebSocket and HTTP request from our Vite and dev server to a backend server. With this, I'm going to define here the global definition that we have window. This provides a polyfill for the global object, but not in browsers. After that, let me open here app.jsx file. From this component, I'm going to remove this code. Now here inside the app function, let me define here the useref hook, and we have to initialize this with null. Let me import here useref from React. After that, I'm going to add here the use effect hook, where we will write the configuration to establish the WebSocket connection using STOMP. So as you can see, the use effect hook. Let me import this. Inside the use effect, first let me add here the configuration for client. Let me import this client from STOMP.js. Inside this, we have the broker URL. Second, we have the authentication header. Third, we have reconnection delay 5 seconds. After that, we have the heartbeat incoming 4 seconds, heartbeat outgoing 4 seconds, fallback transport. At the last, we have on WebSocket error, where we have the callback parameter error to show the error in the console. After the client configuration, we have the event handlers. First we have on connect. Second we have on stomp error. On connect called when connection is established, and this event handles protocol level errors from the server. After the event handlers, we have to manage here the connection. It will store reference for external access. This will start the connection, and this is the cleanup function. Now you can take a look of a app component. Let's navigate to the browser. Let me open here the inspect. Let's go to the console. Now I'm going to refresh the page. As you can see, we got here the error SockJS is not defined. Let me import this. As you can see, we got here the console connected to server. So here inside the app function, let me define here the useref for canvas. We have to initialize this variable with a null. After that, let me define here the use states for is drawing current stroke, and the strokes is drawing, that is by default false. Current stroke, that is by default an empty array. Strokes, that is by default an empty array. Now I'm going to import here useState from React. After importing it, I'm going to define here the function that for start drawing. Now inside this function, I'm going to set here drawing state to active. After that, we have to get here the mouse position relative to canvas. So the variables are offset x and the offset y. After getting a mouse position, we have to start a new stroke with first point by setting current stroke. Inside this, we have to pass here offset x and the offset y. Second function, I'm going to define here that for draw. Inside this function, first I'm going to add here the if condition where we have to check is drawing use state. If it's true, then we have to return the function. After the if condition, we have to get a current mouse position and add a point to stroke. So the variables are offset x and the offset y. After that, we have to call here the use state set current stroke, and we have to add a new stroke in the previous stroke. Third function, I'm going to define here that for and drawing. So as you can see, the arrow function that for and drawing. Inside this, let me call here the use state set is drawing. Inside the argument, we have to pass here the false to turn off the drawing mode. After that, I'm going to add here the if condition where we have to check if a current stroke dot length greater than 0. Then I'm going to create an object of stroke where the keys, points, color, and the width. After creating the object, I'm going to send stroke to server via WebSocket. So we are calling this method from client ref.current. Inside this, we have the destination /app/draw body that we have stroke that is in the form of json.stringify. After sending stroke to server, I'm going to call here the use states that we have set strokes and the set current stroke. We have to add the stroke into the previous strokes by calling the use state set strokes, and we have to set the current stroke. After defining these functions, I'm going to add the HTML code inside the return statement to create the whiteboard canvas. So as you can see, a tag for div. On this, we have the styling properties. Inside this, we have the tag for h1 with a caption collaborative whiteboard. After that, we have the tag for div. Inside this, I'm going to add here the section for whiteboard where we have the tag for div. Inside this, we have the tag for canvas. On this tag, we have the property ref with a value canvas ref. Second, we have width. Third, we have height. Fourth, we have style. Fifth, we have on mouse down. On this event, we are calling it a function start drawing. Second event that for on mouse move, where we are calling it the function draw. And on the last two events, we are calling it the function and drawing. Now you can take a look of app component. Let's navigate to the browser. Let me open here the inspect. Let's go to the console. As you can see, we got here the error. Color is not defined on the line 58. Let me check what is the issue. Let me define the use state for color on the top. The default color that will be a black. Let's go back to the browser. As you can see, error removed. As you can see, the return statement inside the app component. So on the top of the canvas tag, I'm going to add here the tag for div where we have the input for color. So as you can see, the tag for input. On this, we have the property value. Second, we have on change event. On this event, we are calling here the use state set color. Now after that, let me expand this use effect hook. Inside the on connect function, I'm going to subscribe here the draw WebSocket. So as you can see, the method from client that we have subscribe. Inside this, we have the URL /topic/drawings and the callback parameter that we have message. This message contains stroke data. Inside this, we have to pass here message body to JSON, and we have to save into this variable received stroke. After that, we have to call here the use state set strokes to add the received stroke to the existing strokes array using functional update. Let me minimize this use effect hook. Now after that, I'm going to add here another use effect hook. Inside the dependency array, we have to pass here the strokes. This use effect runs whenever the strokes array has changes. Inside the use effect, I'm going to get here the actual canvas DOM element from React ref. After that, I'm going to get here 2D drawing context for the canvas. After getting the 2D drawing context from canvas, we have to clear the entire canvas before redrawing and redraw all the strokes. After this use effect, I'm going to add here the function for draw stroke. Inside the argument, it will get ctx and the stroke. Now inside this function, we have the if condition if a stroke has at least 2 points. Inside this, we have to start a new path for the stroke and move to the starting point. After that, we have a for loop that connects all the subsequent points with lines. After connecting all the points, we have to set here the line color. Default will be a black. With this, we have to set here the line width. Default will be a 2 pixels. And we have to draw the line on the canvas. Now you can take a look of app component. Let's navigate to the browser. As you can see, the input for pick color. Let me pick here the color red. Let's draw something here on the canvas. We can see the real-time drawing on the next tab. Let me draw something else. As you can see, the use effect. So inside this, I'm going to subscribe the erase WebSocket. So we are calling it the method subscribe from client. Inside this, we have the WebSocket URL /topic/erase, and we have the callback parameter message. Inside this, we have to get the canvas DOM element. After that, we have to get 2D drawing context. Clear the visual canvas. At the last, we have to clear the stroke straight empty array. After that, let me define here the function with the name erase canvas. Inside this, I'm going to get here the DOM element and the 2D context. After that, I'm going to clear visual canvas and the stroke straight to empty array. After that, we have to send the command to erase canvas to the server. So the destination /app/erase. Inside the body, we have to pass here the parameter action with a value raise in the form of a JSON. After the erase canvas function, I'm going to define the function for export image. Inside this, let me get here the current DOM element. After that, let me define here the variable with the name scale with a value 2. After that, we have to create the element and we have to save into this variable with a name export canvas. After creating temporary off-screen canvas, we have to double the width and the height of the canvas. After that, let me get here the 2D context of canvas. After that, I'm going to apply scaling to drawing context. With this, we have to copy the original canvas content. After that, we have to convert canvas to PNG data URL and create invisible download link. But first, we have to create here the element. Then we have to set here the download source, set file name, and trigger download. After this function, I'm going to add the button after this input tag. So the caption of the button that we have erase. On the click of this button, we are calling here the function erase canvas. After that, we have the styling properties on this button and the events on mouse over and on mouse out. On this, we are updating the background color of the button. With this, I'm going to add another button for export. So as you can see, a tag for button with a caption export. On the click of this button, we are calling it the function export image. After the on-click event, we have the styling properties for this button, and at the last, we have another events on mouse over and the on mouse out, where we are updating the background color of the button. Now you can take a look of a app component. Let's navigate to the browser. Let me open here the new tab. I'm going to draw something here on the canvas. Let's click on the erase button. As you can see, the canvas got erased successfully. Let's click on the export button. As you can see, the exported version of the canvas. Let me open here index.css file. So here I'm going to add the styling properties for body. After that, let me open here app component. Let's scroll on the top. Inside the app function, let me add here the use state for comments. Inside the array, we have a few hard-coded comments with a text and the timestamp. After adding the use state, I'm going to add the tag for div for the comment section after the whiteboard section. So as you can see, the tag for div, on this tag we have the few styling properties. Inside this div tag, we have the tag for h2 with a caption comments. After the h2 tag, we have the tag for div for the scrollable comments. Inside this, I'm going to add here the condition where we have to check the length of the comments. If a length is 0, then we have to show this div with a caption no comments yet. In case if a length greater than 0, then I'm going to call the JavaScript function map on the useState comments. Inside the map function, we have a predicate comment. This will hold a single comment from the comments useState, and this variable will hold the array index. Inside this, I'm going to add here the tag for div. On this tag, we have a props key with a value index to make this div unique. After that, we have a few styling properties on this div tag. Inside this, we have the tag for span, where we have to show the text of the comment. After that, we have the tag for small, where we have to show the timestamp of the comment. Now you can take a look of a app component. Let's navigate to the browser. As you can see, the section for comment, where we can see a few hard-coded comments with a text and the timestamp. As you can see, the app function. Inside this, I'm going to uncomment this use state. With this, I'm going to remove these hard-coded comments. After that, inside this use effect hook, I'm going to subscribe the comment WebSocket. Inside this use effect hook, I'm going to subscribe the comments. So as you can see, we are calling here the subscribe method from client. Inside this, we have the WebSocket URL /topic/comments. After that, we have the callback parameter message. Inside this, we have to convert the message body to JSON and set to the comment use state. Now after that, I'm going to create here the function with the name send comment. Inside this, we have the if condition. If a comment text not empty, then I'm going to create the object of comment, where the first key text with a value comment text, second key that we have timestamp with a value new day dot to ISO string. After creating the object, we have to call here the WebSocket of comment. So the destination that we have /app/comment. In the body, we have to pass here the comment in the form of a JSON, and we have to call here the use state set comment text to make it empty. Now let me create this use state on the top. So as you can see, the use state for comment text, that is by default the empty string. Now after getting this function, I'm going to add the HTML code inside the return statement. So as you can see, a div for scrollable comments. After that, I'm going to add here the tag for div. Inside this, I'm going to add here the tag for input, where we have a property value that is used to show the default value of the comment text use state. After that, we have a onChange event. On this event, we have to get the input value and clone to this use state. After the input tag, I'm going to add here the tag for button. On a on-click event, we are calling here the function send comment. Now you can take a look of the app component. Let's navigate to the browser. So as you can see, the input for comment. With this, we have the send button. Now I'm going to add here the comment like good drawing. Let's click on the send button. As you can see, we got here the comment inside the comments section. Let's navigate to the second tab. We're getting here the comment as well. From the second tab, I'm going to publish another comment. Awesome. Let's click on the send button. As you can see, we got here the comment. So as you can see, a component for app inside this function. Let me add here the use state for set reactions. That will be the type of an empty array. Second use state that for set show emoji dialog. That will be a by default false. After that, as you can see, the use effect hook. So inside this, I'm going to subscribe here the WebSocket for reaction. So as you can see, a method subscribe we are calling from client. Inside this, we have the WebSocket URL /topic/reactions. After that, we have the callback parameter message. Inside this, we have to pass message body to JSON and we have to save into this variable with a name received reactions. After that, we have to set the received reaction to this use state that we have reactions. After subscribing it, I'm going to add here another use effect with the dependency array that we have reactions. This use effect calls when this use state has any change. So inside this use effect, we are calling here the JS function for each on the reactions use state. Inside this, we have a set timeout function. Inside this function, we are setting here the reaction to this use state. And after the timer, we have to clear the timeout. After this use effect, let me create here a new function with the name add reaction. This function will get the emoji in the argument inside this function. First, we have to create here the object of reaction where we have a emoji x and the y. Now after that, we have to call here the method publish from client ref.current. Inside this, we have the destination /app/reaction. After the destination, we have a body in the form of a JSON. After calling the WebSocket endpoint, we have to call here the use state set show emoji dialog to set the value false. Now you can take a look of the app component. As you can see, the component for app, let me scroll down. So inside the return statement, as you can see here, the input row. Now inside this div, I'm going to add here the tag for pan. On this tag, we have the on-click event. On this event, we are calling here the use state that show emoji dialog. That will be a by default false. Into this use state, we have to save the opposite value of the show emoji dialog. Now after this pan tag, I'm going to add here a condition where we have to check here show emoji dialog use state value. If it's true, then we have to show this div where we have a couple of emojis. On this array, we are calling here a JS function map. Inside this, we have a predicate variable with the name emoji. Inside this, we have the tag for span where we have to show the emoji, and on the on click event we are calling here add reaction function. As you can see, implementation of this function. Now after that, let me minimize this div. With this, I'm going to minimize this div as well. Outside of this div, I'm going to add here the tag for div or reaction floating. Inside this, we are calling here JS function map on the reactions use state. Inside this, we have a predicate variable with the name reaction. Inside this, we have the tag for span where we have to show reaction emoji. On this tag, we have a props key with a value reaction.id to make this span unique. After this, I'm going to add here the tag for style. So as you can see, a tag for style. Now you can take a look of the app component. Let's navigate to the browser. Let me open here a new tab as well. From the first tab, I'm going to add here the reaction. As you can see, a reaction floating. Now let me add here another reaction. As you can see. So that's all now from my side. Thanks for watching.